Hey guys, Brad Danger here, and car redesigns are supposed to do one thing and one thing only: make a car better. That's it, that's the job. Improve the look, improve the tech, refine the idea, evolve the things people already liked without detonating the identity in the process. And yet somehow, someway, manufacturers keep finding ways to completely screw this up, because every once in a while a redesign didn't just miss, it betrays. It takes a car people loved, understood, and defended and turns it into something unrecognizable. Something straight up embarrassing, something that feels like it was designed by a committee that never met a car enthusiast and actively resents them. Now guys, these aren't mild missteps. These are redesigns so bad that rewired brand perception, tanked sales, killed nameplates, or turned once iconic cars into punchlines. So let's talk about the worst offenders. No nostalgia goggles, no corporate excuses, just straight roasting. And let's start with the most painful one, and I know what you guys are already thinking: BMW. Well, that's next, because the worst offender is the Mitsubishi Eclipse.
Hey guys, real quick, Rocky from New York didn't think he'd win either until he actually did. GTR, cash, flight out here, weekend with us, car shipped home, life changed forever. If you've ever said, I never win anything, this is your moment to prove yourself wrong. Click the pinned comment, sign up, get entered, and go claim your shot. Now, back to the show.
This one should be studied in business school as a cautionary tale. The Eclipse, yes, from Fast and Furious, started life as a turbocharged all-wheel drive tuner car hero. It was fast, it was affordable, and it was totally cool. I mean, the car actually mattered. It was in movies, it was in garages, it was part of culture. Then Mitsubishi decided that the culture thing was so inconvenient, so they first redesigned it. They ditched the all-wheel drive and turbocharging. Okay, not great, but maybe they had a plan, right? Second redesign, it became softer, slower, and confused. Still bad, but kind of survivable. Then the final redesign happened. Yes, they turned the Eclipse into a crossover, not a performance crossover, not a cool one, just a blob. They slapped one of the most beloved enthusiast names of the early 2000s on a rental spec grocery getter and expected people to actually not notice. That's not a redesign, that's identity theft. And the worst part is that Mitsubishi didn't even commit to the insult. They didn't give it power, they didn't give it attitude, they gave it the automotive equivalent of unseasoned chicken and called it an innovation. The Eclipse, it didn't evolve, it evaporated. And next up, BMW's modern design era, aka that buck teeth, yo. I mean, BMW spent decades building some of the best looking sedans and coupes on the planet. Clean lines, perfect proportions, 50-50 weight disc, and timeless shape. Then someone just decided that subtlety was for cowards. The new 4 Series and M3 designs look like the car is gasping for air. The grille isn't aggressive, it's desperate. It's not saying performance, it's saying, what's up, doc? BMW claims that you're gonna get used to it, but no one is. Are you? No, I'm not either, because good design doesn't require exposure therapy. You don't Stockholm syndrome your way into loving a front end that looks like it fell face first into a cheese grater. That wasn't evolution. That was rebellion against their own legacy. BMW didn't redesign the car for drivers, they redesigned it for Instagram thumbnails and attention metrics, and because, well, China buys a lot of them. And now every single time one just drives by, it looks like it's screaming instead of moving. Speaking of screaming, let's talk about the Chevy Blazer reboot. I mean, Chevrolet had the easiest win imaginable. The Blazer name meant something. It stood for rugged, boxy, off-road capable, cool. They could have pulled a Bronco. They could have leaned into heritage. They could have made people actually emotional. Instead, well, they made it a crossover. Cue in the Eclipse, and not even a cool one. The modern Blazer isn't a bad vehicle per se. That's the problem. It's aggressively fine. It's the kind of car you rent, you forget, and never think about again. Call it literally anything else, and nobody cares. But calling it a Blazer was an own goal of legendary proportions. It's like rebooting a rock band as a ukulele cover group and insisting it's the same thing because the logo matches. I mean, Chevy didn't misunderstand the market. They misunderstood the name. Next up, the Subaru WRX. And this one hurts because Subaru keeps doing it to themselves. Every generation, the WRX somehow gets uglier. People argue about Bug-Eye versus Blob-Eye versus Hawkeye, my personal fave. But at least those cars looked like rally machines. They had purpose, they had aggression. Then came the latest redesign. Plastic fender flares, fake aero proportions that look like a Crosstrek cosplaying as a sports sedan. It's not tough, it's not rally inspired, it looks like someone put aftermarket Pep Boys parts on a clay model and called it a day. The WRX didn't need to be reinvented, it needed refinement and not a CVT. And Subaru fans did what Subaru fans always do. They defended it on Reddit and on the keyboard. They said it will grow on you. They said function over form. That's Stockholm Syndrome again. Now let's talk about Honda's worst habit, sanding the soul out of their own cars. The Accord redesign is a perfect example. The 10th gen is one of the best looking cars I think out there. It was bold, it looked sporty, it definitely had presence. It felt like Honda remembered that people actually like cars. Then came the next redesign. Flatter, blunter, more appliance-like. It didn't look terrible. That's not the problem. It looks anonymous. It looks like it was designed to offend nobody and excite nobody. Honda didn't actually make it worse mechanically. They made it emotionally vacant. Same thing happened with the Civic Type R. The older Type R looks insane. Over the top, winged, vented, loud. It looked like a hot hat should. The newer one looks like it's going to a job interview. It's faster. It's better. Yeah, it's more refined, and it looks like a slightly annoyed accountant. Honda took a car that was proudly unhinged and made it polite. And that's not growth, you guys. That's fear. Now let's rewind one of the original sins, the Ford Taurus redesign in the late 1990s. Oval kill. That's not a nickname you earn accidentally. Ford took a normal, successful sedan and decided everything needed to be oval. Headlights, windows, dashboard, cup holders, probably the steering wheel if they could have gotten away with it. It looked like the car was melting. This wasn't futuristic, it wasn't bold, it was uncomfortable to actually look at, and people ran away, even buyers in droves. And the Taurus went from America's car to a design experiment people actively avoided. That redesign didn't just fail, it broke trust with the brand. Speaking of broken trust, the Chrysler Sebring, this thing went from mildly acceptable to objectively worse in every measurable way. Worse styling, worse interior, worse ergonomics, same engine, same mediocrity. The design didn't improve anything. It just removed whatever dignity the car actually had left. It looked cheaper, it felt cheaper, and somehow still cost some money. I mean, the Sebring redesign didn't try, and it absolutely showed. Now let's talk about Toyota's early 2000s identity crisis, the Celica and MR2 redesigns. Toyota had these great, sporty, enthusiast-friendly cars and then decided to shrink them, soften them, and make them weird. The last Celica looked like it was designed by someone who hated rectangles. The MR2 went from a serious mid-engine sports car to a bubble that looked apologetic for existing. Neither redesign was objectively awful on its own. They were awful because they represented surrender. Toyota wasn't pushing forward, they were backing out. And when you redesign a sports car to be less sporty, people, they definitely notice. Now, the nuclear option. Yes, the Pontiac Aztek. Yeah, everyone jokes about it, but here is actually the thing. The Aztek wasn't just ugly, it was incoherent. No consistent lines, no clear purpose, no visual hierarchy. It looks like multiple unfinished ideas arguing with each other. The Aztek wasn't misunderstood, it was exactly as bad as everyone actually says, and it poisoned Pontiac's image so badly that the brand, well, it never recovered. That's the danger of bad redesigns. They don't just hurt one model, they bleed into literally everything. And one more honorable mention. Oh, I love this one. The Mustang Mach-E naming decision. The car itself, it's fine. It's actually pretty good. The design, it's also fine. Calling it a Mustang though, that is insane, Ford. That wasn't a redesign. That was a brand expansion that felt like a betrayal. You don't slap on one of the most sacred performance names in American history onto an electric crossover and act surprised when enthusiasts revolt. That wasn't innovation. That was marketing arrogance. And that's the common thread in all of these redesigns. They weren't made for drivers. They weren't made for charts, for focus groups, for quarterly projections. The worst redesigns aren't the ugliest ones. They're the ones that we forget why the car even mattered in the first place. They just erase the identity. They dilute the purpose. They trade soul for safety. Good redesigns evolve a car without losing its spine. Bad redesigns, they panic. And when manufacturers panic, car culture remembers forever. Because enthusiasts will forgive slow cars. They'll forgive weird quirks. Thanks, Daddy Doug. They'll even forgive mistakes. What they won't forgive is being ignored. And every car on this list wasn't just redesigned poorly, it was redesigned without listening. That's why these cars aren't just disliked, they're resented. So let me know your favorite redesigned dislike in the comments down below. I'd love to see what you're up to. Also, remember to go to winthisIdealcar.com to get entered to win your dream car that I'm giving away, plus cash. Go check out some of these Ideal vids over here. Like, subscribe. I'm Brad Danger. This is Ideal. Catch you next week, and promise me one thing: keep living the ideal lifestyle.